Welcome to another episode of UCRD Reviews. So today we have another Gundam 0083 release. This one's a regular release, not a P-Bandai. And this one's the AGX-04 Gerbera Tetra version anime. So this is Cima Garahao's final mobile suit before she's killed in action by Kouraki in the Dendrobium Orcus. So this neat-looking, very Zeon-looking mobile suit was actually first developed as a Gundam. That was supposed to be the GP04 Gerbera. However, with the partial destruction of the Zephranthes and turning it into the full vernier, which was a high mobility, fast attack Gundam for space use, it kind of made a high mobility, fast attack Gundam for space use, known as the Gundam Gerbera, pointless, because they already had one. And they retrofitted it, changed a lot of stuff, and ended up selling it to Cima Garahao as the Gerbera Tetra instead. So we've never had a figure of this. We did have a Gundam fix of the Gerbera Tetra Custom, or Kai, which is a different mobile suit, but we never had this particular one. So I was really excited when they announced it, and I was even more excited when they said it was not going to be a P-Bandai. So let's go ahead and open it up and take a look at it. Alright, so let's take a look at this weird looking Zeon mobile suit here. So first things first, we'll go through the articulation. The head has this little flappy piece back there which allows you to pull the head up about that far and down that far. It'll almost do a full 360. I honestly think that it will, but it gets hung up right here on mine. For some reason I can't get it past there. But I mean, it turns quite a bit for being such a weird design. Then of course the top of the head comes off. You can move the mono eye around pretty easily, and it just pops right back on. The shoulders here have these massive boosters attached to them that are effect part compatible. They are ball jointed, so they do move around quite a bit, and then they're hinged up here. They're also attached to this piece, which comes back and around. These little wing binders are ball jointed as well. They pop off every once in a while, but you know, they'll snap right back on, of course. And then these shoulder pieces, you can kind of see the ball joint back in there. They'll move around a bit, but not a ton. So it does restrict arm movement to some degree. The arms themselves are ball jointed up inside there, and they have this little armor bit here that doesn't really move. The biceps can rotate up here, and then the elbows are double jointed like normal. There is this little weird joint in there that I don't particularly like. Kind of makes some of the arm poses a little bit funny, but you know, articulation's articulation. You do have the 110 millimeter machine guns in each arm that are sculpted in there, and this I believe is the magazine for them, although it's not removable. And then you have the hands, which are let's see here, they're double ball jointed like most of your 0083 stuff, which is pretty cool. So we don't have much of a chest flex going on. It doesn't really, chest is one big solid piece, which I don't particularly mind. You have a bit of detail painted in there, the camera up at the front, which is pretty cool. Looks like it'll come forward about that far, and it'll just come to almost a resting pose going backward. Bit of a tight joint, but you can do a full 360 out of the waist there, which is pretty cool. Coming back here, you have thruster effect compatible boosters back here, and then the one big thruster here with this pretty cool piece coming out of there. We'll talk more about this in a minute. You have the camera back here. You have a thruster here, although it's not effect part compatible, and you have some cables and some detail back there, which is really cool. Now for the legs, we have the beam saber storage racks, which are right here, which we'll get into more detail about them shortly. Legs will come out about that far due to these racks. They won't really go beyond that. You do have thigh swivel, which is always nice. You can almost do a full 360 if it wasn't for this piece here. The knees come up a decent amount, nothing too crazy. This piece is spring loaded, this little one right here, so it'll work pretty well. And then the feet, they'll come down about that far and come forward quite a bit, almost unnaturally so. And you'll see they're double ball jointed in there, and then they'll go side to side quite a bit as well. So very jointed feet. And then I don't think it has, oh, it's got a little bit of toe articulation right there, and it's thruster effect part compatible, which is pretty cool. So very posable figure, not a lot of articulation limitations, which is nice, and it has quite a few effect part compatible pieces and gimmicks, so I do quite like this figure so far. But let's take a look at the accessories real quick. So this will be one of the few times that the review part of the hand accessories is actually going to be interesting. You get two different sets of opposing hands, you get beam saber hands, and Bandai, please explain what happened here. It's supposed to be two gun hands, but as you can see, one of them has the pinky cut and exposed instead of the actual trigger hand. Thankfully it's the left hand, which I don't really use anyway, but quality control needs a little bit of work there. Don't really understand how that happened. So yeah, there's that. It does come with an antenna, which is very easy to attach. It is pretty thick, so you don't have to worry too much about it breaking or anything like that. And if you do end up breaking it, it comes with a replacement, which is pretty nice. And we do get two beam sabers with this release. These are already put into their holders, so you can actually pop the little leg piece open here, and they'll just kind of peg right in. It's a little awkward to get in there with my hand. Let's see if I can do it this way or not. Yeah, so it's not very accessible of an area. Let's pull the leg forward. Aha, work smarter, not harder. So it kind of simulates it popping out so the Gerbera Tetra can grab it. You can see where it pegs in right there on the handle, and then of course you can just attach the beam saber blade to it, and it looks pretty cool. A little bit of detail up there, has a little face sculpted in it, and you get two of these. And then you have the beam machine gun, which is pretty cool. It has a handle that comes forward, effect part compatible, painted camera. The coolant tank down here and the magazine are not removable, unfortunately. It does do this useless sliding motion there. I don't really know why. The only thing I can suspect is it just gives more stability when it's slung underneath the arm, but other than that, I don't know why it does it. It's a really interesting design though. It has a little bit of paint detail in it. Really cool looking. Has the barrel similar to a real world machine gun with the little vents in it, so pretty neat that we got this. So this next accessory is pretty cool. This is actually the stern booster, that we didn't get to see in the anime, but it basically allows the Gerbera Tetra to make it to the front lines without using any of its own propellant, and then it can just dump this thing off and go into combat, which is pretty cool. So it comes with these two ball-jointed propellant tanks that you attach on either side. There are two thrusters on here that are effect part compatible, and you can kind of see in there inner workings of it, but it attaches really easily. It just goes straight over the back, and you'll hear it click like that, and that's how it goes on there. I'm going to move this out of the way real quick just so you can see how big it makes the figure look. It does extend out quite a bit. It's actually taller than the figure itself. It will require a stand just to get it to hold itself up because it is a bit back heavy, but it looks really, really cool. I actually like this quite a bit, and like I said, just be careful of the antenna. You do get a replacement in the box, but just try not to break it or anything like that. So pretty neat. So now getting into the effect parts, you do have this machine gun firing effect that's two pieces. It has the flaring, and then this piece. It can also be a giant beam saber, but for the Gerbera Tetra it makes more sense to be a firing effect. You get a slashing beam saber effect, and you get 3 thruster effects, all with slanted pegs. So nothing crazy in here, but pretty cool stuff. So one little thing to watch out for real quick on the ball joints. Let's see if I can show it there. You'll see the ball joint has a notch cut out of it on this side. Just be very careful with these. Make sure not to apply too much pressure on them so that it doesn't actually snap going this way. So I figured the only proper comparison is comparing the Gerbera Tetra to Cima's older mobile suit, the Gelgoog Marine Commander type. And you can see obviously they're two very different suits. The Gelgoog Marine is much more bulky than the Gerbera Tetra, and the shield falls off quite a bit more. There we go. But as a figure, the Gerbera Tetra really does this a lot better. I mean, they're both obviously very different figures, but I think the Gerbera Tetra is much truer to its anime form than the Gelgoog Marine. So nice to have both of Cima's mobile suits though. So the Gerbera Tetra is a really interesting mobile suit, and I'm glad we got a figure of it. To go into the development of it a little bit further, the team that ended up making this mobile suit had a lot of Zeon ties, prior to 0083. And so when the Delaz fleet approached them and said, "Hey, we want a new mobile suit," they took this botched prototype, not botched, but dropped prototype, I should say, of a Gundam, made it about as Zeon as possible so no one suspected that it was based on a Gundam, and gave it to the Delaz fleet, which ended up in the hands of Cima Garahao. And it's just a really cool looking design. The Mayfly in Space Part 2 actually showed the original rollout face of it, which had 2 eyes like a Gundam, and it even had the antenna looking like a V-fin, which is kind of interesting. Unfortunately, we didn't get that head with this release, which was a little bit of a disappointment. But what we did get with this figure is really solid. It comes with all the weapons and accessories that it needs, and it even has a decent amount of effect parts with it. My only complaints here were just the handball joints seem a little bit flimsy. It may very well not be an issue, but you never know. And really, that's about it. And then the missing alternate head. The head was also featured in the Gundam 0083 Rebellion manga. There is a shield that it uses in that same manga, which we didn't get. It's the same exact shield that Cima's Gelgoog Marine uses, but that one I pretty much knew we wouldn't get. I was excited that we got the stern booster, so that's pretty cool. And considering the price for everything, I think you get you get your money's worth out of this one. So thank you for watching the review. Let me know if you ended up picking this one up or not, and let me know what you're looking forward to next down the line for the Robot Spirits. I do have some older figures that I'm going to be reviewing that'll be dropping soon, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a good day. Thanks for watching the review.